And I cannot wait for the day that we win. We will. We're right. The entire country knows this is nonsense. They don't buy it. Oppose.
And what I keep articulating over and over and over again is that you have to understand the demographic shift among African Americans. And that is voters who are 55 and under are less likely to identify as Democrats, which means you're going to have to be more aggressive in trying to go after them, spend more money in targeting them, and not just with ads, having community-based conversations. And frankly, I don't think the campaign has fully embraced that. And I think when you look at the polling numbers, your softness there. And I've said on this show, I've said to people directly, the couch is a real foe. And what I keep articulating over and over and over again is that you have to.
Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. And it's a lot to be known this morning. It's Thursday morning. And I tell you what, can we ever have all the big news and all the consequential news in the beginning of the week? Because tomorrow's Friday. And oftentimes what happens? Friday afternoon, I'm cruising like Smokey Robinson. And I just want Friday to disappear. No big news, no breaking news. In fact, not long ago, my siblings, they had a family meeting, and it was, in fact, it was a Friday evening, and it was a Friday or a Saturday evening. And okay, cool. Friday evening, Saturday evening, boom, breaking news. Had to attend to that, missed the Zoom meeting. It's relax, people, on weekends. Just let the weekends come and go, and let us tackle stuff on Mondays. But it's a busy Thursday, and Greer kicks it off with Roland Martin. We're going to talk about that because spoke to Roland a couple of times yesterday. Spoke to Dr. Chavis. Dr. Chavis spoke to Roland. Roland was speaking to everybody yesterday, and Roland, the one thing, what he was saying in that video there, of course, 100% right. But some other things that unfortunately, and he'll say is unfortunate too, that he's 100% right on as well. And we know that the president and the vice president was in Philadelphia yesterday, kicking off this Black voter engagement tour. And one of the things that got Roland's goat, got all of our goats, was that this was broke. This story about this tour, this Black tour, was broke by the campaign to give. They was given to first white media. It's what, are you kidding me? Is this some sort of ha ha? Is a joke? Is laughable? And if you watched any of Roland's show yesterday, he pointed out some amazing stuff, which he created graphics that you would expect the Biden-Harris campaign would create. And he's just giving them a taste of why aren't you doing this? And one of the things he said, we hear all the time about, and we talk about it in this program, all the accomplishments that this administration has accomplished. All of these. It's fine. It's great. It's not just fine. It's great. It's amazing. But you won't know about it because just like yesterday's event where they don't inform Black-owned media. And again, we talked about this yesterday. How do you not inform Roland Martin? How do you not inform the Black rest of America first? But he has what he's done with the Department of Justice. What this Department of Justice has done under Biden, despite Merrick Garland being at the head of it, is no other. And Roland said, and he's 100% right, no other Department of Justice has done what this Department of Justice done, particularly in the Civil Rights Division. And like Roland was saying, okay, we haven't yet got the George Floyd Justice and Police Act passed, but this is what we have done. This civil rights division has held more cops accountable, has held racists accountable than any Department of Justice since Robert Kennedy was the Attorney General under his brother. They don't tell you. They don't talk about that. Um, Somebody, I don't know if it was Roland on Roland's show, said that he should get together all his black cabinets members that he's appointed, the judges, perhaps not the judges because it's supposed to still look have the appearance of unbiased, but the cabinet members, and put them on a poster or something, a picture, a commercial, because we can relate when we see each other. It's hard to relate when you have white folks telling you this is what we've done for black folks. Black folks tend to tune out. The campaign just hasn't uh, ran on all cylinders yet, and it's getting late. It's getting late. But I thought, wow, I was getting texts yesterday. Lauren Burke texted me, and like I said, Roland called me. He had to be turned around to be reaching out to everybody like that. Other black media. I mean, he's the leader, and so he was perturbed by this, but yet recognizing what's at stake. I mean, he reached out to the campaign. He said something very incredible to me that he hadn't talked to the person that is the face of black media for the campaign, which is absolutely incredible. Um, but and it's not for his lack of effort. Wasn't that, it's not on him. But at the same time, there eh, or you should know, you can't take black folk for granted. You already got the problem. There's a poll that showed that while the president enjoyed 83% overall uh, black support a few years ago, that number is down to like 46%. That's a major drop. Not and it's not in any way indicating that they are supporting the other guy. They're not. But it goes to Roland's point about being on the couch. How are they going to get them off the couch? And we talked about how they're bringing out the Robert De Niro's of the world, which is great. The forum for Robert De Niro, again, I absolutely love Robert De Niro, but the forum was just, I just think the forum was just, they picked the wrong forum. Um, and he didn't need to be propped up in any way by the campaign. This has been because he's authentic in his and what he says about Donald Trump. It's very he don't need a speech writer. He doesn't need a campaign person giving him talking points. But at the same time, DL Hughley, and this is another point. Again, I credit Roland Martin. DL Hughley, like many, DL Hughley had been listening to the rhetoric and the social media commentary and the hateful commentary about when Kamala Harris was the attorney general in California, prosecutor in California, how poor supposedly her record was when it came to black folks, particularly black men. Then he decided to do his own homework. And he sat down with Kamala Harris and publicly apologized to her that he had gotten it completely wrong. And like Roland was saying, there's a moment. There is a moment right there. Why don't we hear and see more of that moment in their campaign ads, their campaign decisions? The campaign boast about these billions of dollars that they have at their disposal. And here's the other thing with that, and we talk about black press and advertising. One of the things that Ron Burke, who is the advertising exec, for Black Press of America, Black Press USA, NMPA. Um, One of the things that Ron said made a whole lot of sense. He says, "Look, okay, say they don't want to do a lot of advertising black with the black press." He says, "Let's say that. But how about this? You want to talk about what you've done for black folks? The National Newspaper Publishers Association, the Black Press of America, 250 black owned newspapers and media companies. They are black owned businesses, is what Ron was saying. Um, how about investing in them a little bit? Sure, take those ads because it certainly is not going to kill the pocket. Take those ads out because you know what it does? It allows those black businesses to continue to exist. It allows those black businesses to hire black folks. And now you got 250 robust black businesses that you can now put on the mantle. You can now put in the win column and say, look, black folks, this is just another example of what we're doing for Black America, what we have done, and what we plan to continue to do for Black America. And you got to be smart about this. And look, the folks in that campaign, and we've met many of them, including Jasmine Harris, who's brilliant. Quentin Folks is a brilliant young man, extremely educated, just as black as you and I. But the thing about it is, give them the green light to really engage, to really be that champion that they probably are. In many conversations with Jasmine Harris, and even when she was working for Schumer, she's got that "I'm black and I'm proud" swagger. So I'd imagine that there are some restraints and chains there. Unleash the restraints, unleash the chains. Let Jasmine and the rest of them cook. I don't know who's calling the shots, the ultimate shots over there, but they really they really screwed the pooch yesterday. So, I mean, as they say. That's like a white saying, right? Screwed the pooch. But they really messed it up. I mean, it turned out really well in the end as far as the message and who he spoke to, the president and the vice president spoke to. But to further alienate black the black community by not centering the black press in this huge event in a predominantly black city, historically black city, where you're kicking off this black engagement. You got to. Now I do understand that the Philadelphia Tribune did get in there and do their thing. But you just gotta do better. It can't be this. It's almost like it's almost like it's your wedding anniversary, and you have planned this 5-star restaurant. You got a chauffeur. I would say a limo, but nobody uses limos anymore. The best Uber there is. And you plan all this out. This is going to be a surprise. What- But you forget to tell the wife. I mean, come on. Give me a break. Give me a break. You just can't do that. Um, it is just incredible. Mike V says the problem with Democratic Party is that they want to piss off their white swing voters and the potential to satisfy MAGA voters by engaging black voters with campaigning. Bobby Henry, the chair of the NMPA, writes in, suppose black people use their votes like the Democratic Party is using their monies by not spending it with black businesses, black-owned media companies, and newspapers. Power 96, a real champion of the black press. And I say that, not that anybody else is not. Y'all hear me mention Power 96 a lot, but I follow his private page. I follow him on social media. I want, and he's got a lot of followers. But he constantly on his own, not on this show, not on any other show, but on his own. He's fighting for the cause of the black press and black folks constantly. And he says the black press needs to call out the fake black men barbershop conversations. I'm waiting on that. Southbound 3000, they aren't going to invest because the upswing is that they're going to still ask for advertising dollars. Well, my point, southbound, and I see where you're coming from, is what Ron Burke was saying as a matter of saying that they should advertise, not only because of the fact that they will reach the people they're trying to reach or supposedly trying to reach, but this is an administration that has championed, has said, like to say what they've done for Black America. And this is an opportunity to continue that, to help 250 black owned businesses with one fell swoop. They don't have to have 250 different conversations. That's what the National Newspaper Publishers Association is for. We have folks in the main office, including the president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis, who will happily take that phone call. 96, you need to hit Greer up, she says. We need your perspective sometimes on come on and give us some commentary. She says you know how to find her Power 96, so don't stop playing. Mike B says the VP eating Philly cheesesteak. She was. And it's interesting that they are seemingly now starting to center the vice president the way they should have been all along. This idea, you you know, we've had some dumb vice presidents. I mean, who could ever forget the guy who couldn't spell potato? His name was like a duck, quail. Um, she ain't one of them. You had some incompetent, I should say, vice presidents. David says, ask the White House for advertising receipts to the black press. Um, the campaign is, and see, that's the other thing. So they ask the White House for the advertising receipts to the black press. That's the other thing. So we understand campaign is different and it has to be separate from the administration, from the White House. There is laws. You can't mingle the two. Although the former guy, please. But you can't mingle the two. And the campaign certainly um, should be doing all they can to work with the black press of America. They should be supporting these 250 businesses, black-owned businesses and media companies, well, businesses. But at the same time, the administration, and they've created some rules about black and minority-owned firms in which the government is supposed to be accountable when they are doing their ad dollars, but what they have not done is really push what Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton had pushed for years when she was front and center with us. The Black press and the Congresswoman out of D.C. did a press conference some years ago demanding a general accounting office reporting on advertising dollars spent with Black owned media. And so we got that report thanks to Eleanor Holmes Norton. And I think the administration is in a position, has been in a position in which they enforce it. Say, listen, Eleanor called for this bill, and the bill did not advance, or is still there somewhere, like George Floyd Justice and the Police Act and John Lewis's act, still somewhere in the dustbin. But she demanded, and it was an easy ask. Show your budget before we allocate these advertising and marketing dollars. And if we don't see the Black owned media on here, then you're not getting any money. If we don't see, because they were spending like $5 billion a year or something like that, and only of that it was like 10 million with Black owned media. 10 million out of 5 billion. And David says, what about the White House sending a rep every week on Let It Be Known to talk about what they're doing? I mean, we could arrange that, right? And you're right. They should be reaching out to arrange something like that. And they should be willing to pay for those spots. Just like they'd really be willing to pay for it everywhere else. And yes, the Top Bound says, is it legit to say advertising is a monopoly with whom they advertise with 100%? And they hire these advertising firms, 95% or more white owned, with these young white folks running them who don't know about the Black press, who could care less about the Black press. Yeah, they used to come on. Yeah, they used to do that. Yeah. Um, yeah. So the media spend there is absolutely it's got to improve, but it has to be done yesterday. This is May 30th. So does May have 31 days? No, doesn't. And so what? Tomorrow's June 1st. No, no, no. It does have 31 days. Okay. Saturday is June 1st. It's only a couple of days from June 1st. Couple of days from June 1st. You're getting that window of opportunity. It becomes, do you really believe what you say when you say that this is the most consequential? Now, most of us, most folks, I should say, will agree that it is the most consequential November that you're going to see, ever see. Most folks will say that. Most folks understand that. We know it. Look at Project 2025. That's all you need to know to understand how huge this election is. Project 2025. That puts an end to project. If the Biden campaign loses in November to someone who this any moment now could be a convicted felon, and come January, Project 2025 goes into effect, and this idea of you might as well erase from your vocabulary, erase from your dictionary the phrase, "Oh, they can't do that." Erase it. And it's not hyperbole. It's not an exaggeration. The question to ask, as you see Kamala Harris in that picture, The question will be, whose kitchen she gonna work in? Whose floor she's gonna clean or scrub? That's the facts. That's the cold-hearted facts. Oh, he's exaggerating. That doesn't make any sense. Read Project 2025 and read the room. Read the Supreme Court. You heard Justice Sotomayor. You heard Justice Sotomayor. He cries every time they come up with these racist, oppressive decisions. She's powerless and she's a Supreme Court justice. Trump's folks, the MAGA folks, the ones bankrolling him, have put together a, what they call Project 2025, in which they eliminate the premise of Project 2025 is to either get back to, at the very least, Jim Crow, but certainly ambitious part of it is to basically uh, get back to slavery, is to eliminate all laws that protect civil rights. Um, Look what we just talked about, Louisiana. They've eliminated, starting August 1st, um, parole, probation, including for victims who seek revenge on their sexual assault attackers and child molesters and stuff like that. Um, there- there's a lot going on. Yeah, Project 25 is the American version of Mein Kampf. I know I am not saying it right, David, but I think people know what you're talking about, and it's 100% true. Austin is watching this morning. Austin says Tim Scott will retire from the Senate to be Trump's White House valet. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And Southbound is asking, people say we got to hit them in the pocket, but the more we say that, the more African Americans make that product, the more popular. So where do we go? The point is there won't be any make African American makers of a product that they, well, no, let me rephrase that. No matter what product African Americans might make under the orange guy, if he wins, they won't benefit from it. They are taking everything. And that includes these idiots who run around, uh, you know, talking about these black folks talking about Negroes for Trump, and and those who want to spew all of this craziness. Um, I see where Charlamagne, and we're gonna talk about Charlamagne this morning. Seems like he ran and bumped his head and came back to his senses a little bit. But believe we implore you to read at least the cliff notes, if you don't read anything else, of Project 2025. That is as real. And they went before Congress with it. Jasmine Crockett read it out in Congress. And the guy, one of the authors, he sat there as smug, as racist, proudly racist as he could be, saying, "Yeah, that's right." So be prepared, folks. Be prepared. We'll talk a little bit more about some of these things in the next few minutes, but let's wait before we go further with next up on the docket is Diddy. Diddy's done. Um, Greer, do you have? This is the most incredible thing, and it's gone viral. You talk about you stupid people do stupid things. Dumb people do dumb things. You follow a stupid kid home one day, see somebody stupid answers the door. This guy, this young man is on a Zoom because he lost his license. His license was suspended and he had a court appearance on Zoom. Go ahead and play it.
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
You stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
All right. What are we doing?
Your Honor, we are respectfully requesting an adjournment in this matter, up possibly 2 to 4 weeks if the court would allow.
Okay. So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended,
That is correct, Your Honor.
and he was just driving, and he didn't have a license.
Oh,
That is what the charge is, Your Honor, yes.
No, I'm looking at his
Yes.
record. He doesn't have a license. He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
I don't even know why he would do that. So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is to turn himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond. Thank you,
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Harris.
hello.
Have you seen anything more asinine? Have you seen anything more asinine? That judge, the judge was flabbergasted, and he 100% on point there. Turn yourself in by 6. You're done. How stupid can you be? Mike V says, wow. He says, I bet the driver is an N-word for Trump voter. Wow. I don't care. If you are a friend of that guy, a family member of the guy, if I was a friend or a family member, I would have met him at the jail, just to smack him in his head and say, enjoy your stay. Unbelievable. Federal investigators are now poised to present accusers of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs to a federal grand jury, something that totally now signals that the U.S. Justice Department is moving toward seeking an indictment against Diddy. Multiple reports following that breaking news yesterday suggest that a number of these witnesses against Diddy actually brought evidence similar to what we saw on that tape with Cassie. Those who didn't, one report suggested, those who didn't bring hard evidence to the Department of Justice was sent home and were not interviewed. Diddy, the day of reckoning is near. This is significant. The fact that and this grand jury is being impaneled in New York City. And that's so important because I've said this, and you can look at the track record, which will back me up. The one thing about Los Angeles, one of the differences, there are so many differences between Los Angeles and New York. New York wins hands down every time. But but the difference between Los Angeles and New York is quite simple. Los Angeles does not convict superstars. Los Angeles juries are allergic, for the most part, to convicting superstars. New York is New York. New Yorkers don't do that starstruckness stuff. New York is you have folks. I mentioned Robert De Niro, but on any given moment, walking in Midtown, you will run into a Julia Roberts. You will run into a Denzel Washington. You will run into a Spike Lee. But you keep it moving. In Los Angeles, you run into those. Oh, it's the end of the world. Everything stops. New Yorkers don't have time. New Yorkers don't have time for that type of idol worship. And you go on trial, New Yorkers. And the one thing about New Yorkers, you go on trial in New York, and here's the first thing they're gonna say: what is this so and so done now? We need to teach him a lesson. Los Angeles jurors is like, oh no, oh no, oh no, we're not doing this. We're not sending our stars to jail. We got the Walk of Fame to honor. Diddy is in trouble, so they are looking at sex trafficking. Yeah, Greer says celebrities in New York hang out in Washington Square Park and smoke weed with the locals. She says she knows all about that. What kind of weed you smoking, girl? Oh my gosh. Um, and here's the other part of this that could get even worse for the Combs family, because they are taking reportedly are uh, taking statements from those. And she said that's premenopause, from those who have accused his son Christian of sexual assault. And that there's a possibility that Christian Combs could also be charged with crimes such as aiding and assault, aiding and abetting. Um, but the Department of Justice, now we reached out as well. They declined to comment, but this is a extremely huge step. Now remember, um, his not, and I hate to lump the two because we just it's one is still in some minds an open-ended question, but they never went to a grand jury with Russell Simmons. In fact, police never even questioned Russell Simmons. Diddy, his two homes were raided by the feds. He's got a grand jury about to hear folks say what they've said in the news. So this is what makes it so important. They've said it in the news, they've said it in the lawsuits, but now they're saying it under oath to a grand jury. It's bad boy for life. And bad boy could be getting life. It very well be it. I mean, there's one thing to say Diddy's done as far as his career, as far as being able to make any more money. It's a shame his family is going to go through this. But it's another thing to say he's finished as far as being a free man. He has certainly ruined the lives of his children. And you're hearing everybody come out the woodworks. They're coming out of the woodworks. I saw this young lady, I might know who she is. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, who worked with Kim Porter, the late ex-girlfriend, baby mother of Diddy's. And she appears to be spilling the beans, talking about how all the abuse, the violence he inflicted upon Kim Porter. I've seen some people say stuff, a couple people, not a whole lot, and I'm glad that it is in the minority. Go at Cassie, um, because apparently or allegedly she was working with Diddy when Diddy was seeing Kim, and the inference was that she took Kim's man, and again this even the sicker inference is that she deserved what she got, which is absolutely bananas, absolutely insane for someone to infer that. But Rolling Stone magazine spent 6 months talking to folks way back in Diddy's past to his present, from Howard University to Harlem, Mount Vernon, and they said they spoke. They contacted more than 200 folks. They wound up using 50 of them, or quoting, because most of them did not want to participate. Some of them, they said, wanted money to participate, and they refused to pay them to participate. They even quote Usher in this. It's almost a book. It's like a 10-page expose in Rolling Stone. And Usher talked about, as a child, as a teenager, young teenager, how he was exposed to all of this, to sex and orgies and things like that at Diddy's house, which in itself, it makes me wonder if Usher has been contacted by the feds as well, because that statute of limitations, this happened, according to Usher, circa 2002, 2003, perhaps 2004. And we're talking about exposing a child, because he was considered a child at the time. There must be potential charges there too. And if you get Usher on the stand, it's a whole rap. It's a whole rap. But he certainly is quoted in that expose. I don't call it an article because it's an expose for sure. I don't really read a whole lot of stuff, but it was so compelling. I was reading and reading. I'm like, oh my gosh. I realized how much time went by. I mean, I got to get back to work. But I kept reading it. And like I said, when I came across Usher's quote, I said, he's done. Because, I mean, it's not new. We've heard the stories. I mean, Griff told me the stories too about Usher. And when I read Usher's quote, I'm like, oh my God, he's absolutely done. Usher says he was a kid. And he's like, yeah, all of this stuff going on, sex everywhere, orgies everywhere. Oh gosh. And Usher doesn't have an axe to grind with, did he? But the government sure does. Oh gosh. Southbound 3000 says, well, this is an example of money is the root of all evil. Because if he were broke or poor, we wouldn't even hear about this. So let me correct just a little bit of that. The love of money is the root of all evil. Not money itself, but the love of it. Michelle Madison said, Kimura appears to be adamant about getting Diddy for the death of Kim Porter. Kimura should be worried about her own stuff. Um, and Power 96 warns that Rolling Stone should be careful. Black people will start exposing their journalists. I don't read their yellow journalism. Yeah, I read this because of, and the reason what prompted me to read it, because I had ignored it too, Power 96. But what prompted me to read it was the news that came out that a grand jury is going to be impaneled, and if there are folks who are who've been vetted and now ready to speak to the grand jury. So Diddy, and in that expose, really, it highlighted some things about a lot of folks talking about Biggie and Tupac, and how there is a belief, and you hear rhetoric and stuff, but there are so many people believing that Diddy, and hopefully it's so untrue, may have had something to do with Biggie's death, because Biggie was in the process of leaving Bad Boy, and they were fighting what is verifiable and has been verified is that he was indeed in the midst of leaving Bad Boy, and his lawyers were wrestling with Diddy's lawyers, and Diddy's position was Biggie is not taking his masters, and Biggie wanted his masters. And Diddy allegedly was beefing with Biggie because Biggie had become friends with Tupac, and Biggie had gone, and there's a public statements by Biggie, had to search for him and realized he was saying, "No, I'm not into that whole East Coast, West Coast stuff. Pac is a good guy to me, blah, blah, blah." So this guy, it's like we quote Malcolm X a lot on this program, but it's like the chickens have come home to roost. Wow. Wow. You know, there was still some hope by those who is in this man's corner. There's not many in this corner. This is one of the things that we are learning, that there was some hope until that video came out a couple of weeks ago. If you think I'm right, Southbound? No, that's what that's the real phrase, the love of money. But look, you can argue that money itself. But yeah, this guy, whew. And the thing about Diddy, Puff Daddy, when I remember back in before he became this mogul, you hear the name Puff Daddy, and you didn't see him first. When you heard the name, you're thinking it's gonna be some like Big Daddy Kane. I thought these guys were like these big, muscle bound, fearsome, Suge Knight looking type dudes. Diddy looks like somebody who will not pick a fight unless he has his entourage around him. So come on. But man, the anger that this guy must walk around with, to what we saw on that video with Cassie, that's a lot of disturbed anger. It's a lot of disturbed uh cowardice as well. I mean, you got to be a coward, but that's a lot of disturbed anger. And from what we've heard constantly of how he treats people, it's a lot of disturbed anger there. He mentioned in his apology, a so-called apology video, about seeing a therapist in the past. It's, there's something that he probably needed to do, decades ago, and nonstop. Power 96 says, as the streets say in the South, Diddy has to go sit on his can, meaning it is prison time for Diddy. Yeah, he's getting extremely close to prison time. You feel bad for his family, his children, especially his daughters. Daughters had to go to prom with this stuff hanging over their heads. Could you imagine? That saying, "We are our brothers' keepers." We are our kids' keepers. We 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 do something, and that's the thing that we have to understand. It affects just not us, and the fact that his kids, his daughters especially, has to go through this. It's so selfish of him. Yeah, Michelle Madison. She says our own Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr. formed a summit to stop the West Coast East Coast battle during that time. He certainly did. Um, and this is a great question, Southbound 3000. Will the industry have to swing for the better now, or we'll have a turn for the better. Oh, we will wait and see. So the industry is not what it used to be. When labels meant something and things like that, record labels meant something. So that's probably why we might still not see a shift, because there's no functionality there. Folks dropping records at any moment, and it's not records that they're dropping. They're just dropping. Everything is, Spotify, et cetera, Apple. So it's a great question, and it's something really to watch to see if attitudes start to change a bit. You would hope so. Speaking of attitude changes, Charlamagne went on Fox News and declared on Fox News in enemy territory, not his enemy territory, that the former president, is a threat to democracy. He says he led an attempted coup. Do we have audio?
Really? I think that he led an attempted coup in this country. He said he wanted to suspend the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. At the least, that's just not a patriotic thing to say.
I don't believe that.
He absolutely said that on
I will
Truth
look
Social.
that up.
He did.
He wanted to suspend the Constitution.
He said we should suspend the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. He said it on Truth Social, then said he didn't say it. So I read Project 25. I'm one of those guys that's like, I don't know if he will necessarily leave. I hope he does, as you said.
I think even if I think this happens more with our presidents than I think, because now we can see everything, and Trump made everything so transparent because he was on TV every day and everyone was watching the camera.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet, and again, I'm not justifying the bad behavior of January 6th, but I'm willing to bet every president, when he got the note that he was out,
it's crazy. When presidents lose elections, they just concede. They have a concession speech and they wish the other president well. They leave notes in the drawer at the White House for the incoming president, which Trump did not do, by the way. Obama left him a note. He did not leave Biden a note. So no, that dude is 1,000% wrong. Tell me a president in history, other than Nixon, who was forced out, that did not just bow out, concede. We're 4 years later, and Trump still hasn't conceded. Still, despite the mayhem and the death, the lives lost, and everything else from his saying that the election was stolen. This man never conceded. He never conceded the election. Never admitted he lost. Charlamagne said, "Let the record show I totally agree with Robert De Niro. I am one of the people who suffer from Trump derangement syndrome." So he owns up to it. And you remember just recently he said he would not vote for Biden. Now he says that he probably will vote for Biden, although he says he does not support Biden. But the idea, and good for him for finally coming to a senses as far as what Trump did. But the idea that he was in Trump's camp in the first place is just sickening. It's absolutely sickening. Real quick, American Airlines is facing a lawsuit. 8 black men were removed from a flight, allegedly removed from a flight because of body odor. They said that they were singled out and told that they stink, and they were the only the only black folks on the plane, and somebody was smelling offensive, and they said it must be the black folk, and so they tossed them off the flight. And so they are suing American Airlines. They said they started freaking out.
number of black men after they've been removed from a flight allegedly due to a complaint about offensive body odor.
So this is discrimination.
The lawsuit claims as Flight 832 from Phoenix to New York was finishing boarding in January, American employees removed 8 black men from the plane. They were not traveling together, weren't seated next to each other, did not know each other, and appeared to be the only black men on the flight, according to the suit filed early this morning.
As I got my things and walked to the front of the plane and made a left to the jet bridge, I noticed that there was 7 other black men. And that kind of was like, okay, what's happening here? So,
for plaintiffs Emmanuel Jean Joseph, Alvin Jackson, and Xavier Veal, Flight 832 was a connection. They'd taken an earlier flight from Los Angeles without issue.
It was just black men. So I started freaking out. I pulled out my phone to record everything.
At any point,
Yeah. And so here's the thing to think about with that. I have to come back to this again. There will be no discrimination lawsuits, whether it's racial or anything else, under a Trump Department of Justice. Or this type of thing, you would not be allowed as a person of color to sue. You would not be allowed. Read Project 2025.
New York later that day, and alleges an American employee indicated the complaint about offensive body odor had come from a white male flight attendant. A gate agent seen in the video at one point seems to agree race was a factor in the men getting pulled off the flight.
just because of the color of my skin. Okay.
But when another flight to New York couldn't be found, they were put back on the same plane.
Had to go back on the plane with everybody looking at us, you know, for me, very uncomfortable. Everybody staring at me. Me and all the other black people on the plane were just taking off.
I knew that as soon as I get on that plane, a sea of white faces were going to be looking at me and blaming me for their late flight of an hour.
Their lawyer, Sue Huta, says American declined to give her clients any answers about what happened in Phoenix.
It's almost inconceivable to come up with an explanation for that other than the color of their skin, particularly since they didn't know each other, they weren't sitting near each other. It seems fairly apparent that race was part of this dynamic.
Right there.
Passengers have alleged being discriminated against by American and a 2017 NAACP travel advisory urging members not to fly the airline. It was lifted about 8 months later.
We were discriminated against. The entire situation was racist.
Do you think if you were anything other than a black man, this would not have happened?
If I was a white person, it probably wouldn't have happened.
I think they would have walked past like the other white passengers that were there.
CBS legal analyst Ricky Kleeman.
The plaintiffs may really have no interest in money, and they may have a sincere interest in making a public statement about racial discrimination by a major airline.
Is this kind of case a tough one to win at trial?
The question at trial really is about what are the protocols of American Airlines. And they better have some, and they better have done something with these particular employees in terms of discipline after this action.
American.
But did you see it though? When they asked the gate agent, because we black, the gate agent said correct. And it's on film. And she said they may not be interested in money. You know what? Let's just keep it real. I'd be interested in money, whole lot of it. David says, yes, there will be civil rights lawsuits in the Trump administration, but only for white men. And that's what Project 2025 says. It's like they talk about how badly whites are discriminated against. They want you to believe that. But the idea that these guys, and like they said, their name was put back on the same flight. And you could imagine the eyes that were on them. I mean, this is like being accused of stealing and you didn't steal. Publicly accused. You can't do that. But here we are. And what did I say earlier? That whole idea you can't do. That is going to be out the window. Justice Alito is despite being caught in his lies, the Supreme Court justice again is doubling down, throwing his wife under the bus, backing the bus over her. But he's lied. He said that the wife put it up after an argument with a neighbor. The argument happened weeks after the flag went up. Again, there's video evidence of that. Oh gosh. Mike V says first you had Elon Musk talking about not flying because black pilots and DEI made him feel unsafe. Now this, but Justice Alito, and then he said that he is not going to recuse himself from the 2 pending cases related to Trump. The Supreme Court has been bought, has sold out, and it's as relevant as the United Nations. And that is the hard truth. The hard truth of the matter. And it is permeating with racism. It's permeating with sexism and elitism. And so this is the thing about it is there will be, again, we talk about the consequences of Trump retaking office. There'll be more conservative justices, so-called conservative justices on that bench. So there you have it. There you have it. And speaking of Trump, real quick, the jury had 4 questions yesterday, very ominous questions. And they are deliberating in earnest. The question centered on meetings between David Pecker, the head of the National Enquirer, and with Trump at Trump Tower, and Michael Cohen's meeting, Karen McDougal's statements. Those are very ominous questions because Trump, one of the things that Trump's attorneys tried to implore the jury not to do is pay any attention to those particular items. So remember, there's 34 counts, felony counts that they are deliberating against Donald Trump. 34. So it could be a little while now. Austin sent me a note. Austin is a very important man. Austin sent me a text. First, we had a conversation. Him and I realized that we both had. Austin has known the great Joey Jackson, the attorney who does legal analysis for CNN and Headline News. Headline News still exists. And Austin has known Joey Jackson for decades. I didn't know that. And I met Joey some years ago, and he's really been cool. I mean, him and I have communicated a number of times over the last few years. And Joey, Austin asked him his take, apparently, and Joey says he thinks that there will be a conviction or a hung jury, and he believes that this decision will come by tomorrow. So if there's one person on cable news in general, and I'm talking CNN, MSNBC, and all the others. There's one person that I put any confidence in, and that's just a prediction he's making. But if there's one person who I put any stock in, I should say, it's Joey Jackson. And so, he's a great legal mind. He is an extremely great legal mind. The greatest out there. And he's followed this trial closely. And Joey believes that this will not end in a not guilty verdict. So we will see. It's going to be up to the judge. If it does, if there are some guilty verdicts out of those 34 charges, it's going to be up to the judge, obviously, to determine if he's going to send the former president to jail. And Trump has been pushing all the buttons on this judge. Judges are human, and he just might wind up on Rikers Island, if only for a day. But I still find it hard to believe that this judge has the courage to send him to prison. I could be wrong, and we will see. Tomorrow's Friday. What are we doing tomorrow, Greer? What are we doing tomorrow? What are y'all doing tomorrow? It's going to be some breaking news. For sure. I'm sure it's going to be some breaking news Friday afternoon, Friday evening, as I said at the top. And we just want to cruise into the weekend. So we'll see, but I just want a easy Friday. That song says easy like a Sunday morning. I want a easy Friday. It's getaway day. I'll be in the district next week, or basically all week. We're going to go into this preview of the screening of the 6th, and that's on Monday. And this is about, of course, January 6th. And from those who were inside that building, like Erica Lowe, she works at the White House, as you know, in the Office of Public Engagement. And so we will be doing that on Monday evening. So stay tuned. We'll bring you information from that as well next week. But anyway, tomorrow we'll see you again. Thanks for watching. Let It Be Known.